Hello, everyone. I have some thoughts to share on the Memorial Day kerfuffle. Alison Tieman had made some quotes on Memorial Day. One of them was a general message addressing it, where she, of course, was careful to highlight the aspect of it that was gendered, which is that it disproportionately affects males. We're talking about male death, male sacrifice, men who are drafted. And this is a very, very clear-cut gendered issue. This is something that, we're looking at over 99% are male in terms of that. And when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez made her tweet, which was, of course, gender neutral, Alison Tieman made a response which was critical of it, which is something that I think MRAs often criticize. So I think it was a pretty standard sort of a criticism to make. But a lot of people took issue with this. They said that, you shouldn't be politicizing this on Memorial Day. On Memorial Day, who cares if she's going to make a tweet that's gender neutral, right? Because, should we exclude the women? And this led to a lot of different argumentation back and forth. And I would side with Allison on this one, 100%. Now, it came up on Nick Rakita's stream. They had mentioned this because somebody had tweeted about it, about how offended they were about what Allison had done. And, of course, their response on the stream, I think, highlights the general social attitudes that Alison Tieman's tweet exposes. And I think that's the reason so many people were so offended by it. Because it has nothing to do with politicization, right? If you care about the politicization, you're going to spend the entire day just reprimanding people for being political with it. Why do you think any of these politicians even weigh in the first place? Do you think it's because they actually care? It's obviously because they're making a calculated political move. If they don't make a Memorial Day tweet, then they're going to get reprimanded for it, right? So they're just doing it just to cover their ass, right? That's something you have to do as a politician. So if you have an issue with it being politicized, you kind of have an issue with Memorial Day existing. But what is the point of Memorial Day? Is it to just be comfortable and just be comfortable with the sacrifice and allow it to happen again? Or is it to challenge it? Is it to think about the problem and to think about aspects of the problem, to remember this sacrifice such that we don't repeat it? How can we say that we are remembering and honoring that sacrifice if we don't look at it in the light of it being tragic? Obviously, we want to remember it such that we don't repeat it. And I would argue that when we erase the gendered component, we are erasing that which allows us to repeat this tragedy, to have this tragedy happen again and again and again. And the way that Nick Rakita and his guest responded to this controversy, they spoke a little bit in defense of Allison, which is fine. But they got onto this stupid tangent about how the term serviceman is gender neutral and therefore, the women won't be offended, which is cool. And women in the military are so strong and so capable and so awesome. I don't think that women should have to fight, but, the ones that do, they are so cool, right? They had to do this weird doubling back to make sure the women are all okay. And then Nick Rakita offers that the point of Memorial Day is to also remember those who are left behind. And no, I think that's wrong. I think that's wrong, and I think that's dumb. That is just like Hillary Clinton saying that the primary victims of war are the women left behind. And we need to get rid of that. Why is it the case that we can't remember a distinctly male sacrifice and make that the primary issue and the primary thing to be addressed? I think it's very telling that the most important things they have to offer regarding this are, well, let's make sure all the women involved feel comfortable and feel safe. Is that not how this happens? The fact that it's distinctly male life that's being sacrificed here. And what Allison is inviting people to do is to reflect upon the fact that it's a distinctly, disproportionately male sacrifice, and that we need to look at it in that light. So I think that all of these coffee shop, anti-feminists, anti-SJWs who are going after Allison over it, I think basically they're offended because Allison's fighting the real fight. and she's putting things in terms that makes them uncomfortable because they just want to be these cookie cutter egalitarian idiots like Shoe on Head who just want to say, oh, well, why can't we just, now that feminism has jumped the shark, how about we just never have any issues that refer to group identities ever, right? So after a century of feminism, the response isn't, okay, well, since addressing issues in terms of them disproportionately affecting specific groups, now that that's on the table, let's talk about issues that affect men, or issues that affect straight people, or issues that affect white people. Oh, no. No, see, after we let feminism jump the shark, after we let the civil rights movement jump the shark, after we've opened the door to all of this bullshit, we're just going to draw a line here and then say, okay, now we're all egalitarians and now we're not going to have this approach at all. It's frankly stupid. Because the problem with feminism, something I pointed out very early on in my channel, which has been pointed out by many other people, the issue with feminism isn't their tone. It's not their approach or their strategy. The issue with feminism are their facts. They're factually wrong. They try to gender issues that are not gendered. They try to make comparisons that don't hold up under scrutiny. If those comparisons did hold up under scrutiny, if women truly were oppressed in the manner in which they believe they are, then I'd have no beef with feminists. I'd be totally fine with everything they do, and I'd be totally fine with their crazy, shocking method of going about it. Perhaps you can make an argument on pragmatic grounds, but I would consider that to be a relatively unimportant discussion in the larger scheme of it. And I think that that's something we need to consider in regards to the men's rights movement. All these coffee shop anti-feminists and anti-SJWs, they don't really care about men. They don't really care about men's issues. They just want to basically give enough lip service to the men's movement in order to not feel the cognitive dissonance, but they don't want to be uncool. And they're just going to follow the gynocentrism train wherever it leads them. They'll get rid of the feminist label, sure, but they're not going to stop being feminists. It's what they truly are. So, yeah, I say Alison's definitely on the right track here. I think that Karen Strawn really set Shoe straight in a comment back and forth. And I think that really speaks for itself. But yeah, overall, I think that a lot of these coffee shop anti-SJWs and anti-feminists, they need to wake up to the fact that, you need to stop just tone policing feminists and actually look at the issues and actually ask yourself, how is it that we can approach these issues in a way that might actually wake people up and might actually address things in a way that's very honest and consistent. I think that's what Alison has done, but in terms of this larger umbrella of anti-SJW people, I'm not seeing it. The reason that we have the tragic sacrifice that we remember on Memorial Day is because of our indifference to the suffering of men. And the first step to getting people to realize this is to first acknowledge that, yes, this is a distinctly male sacrifice. And those of you who want to treat this as something gender neutral are just avoiding the real problems out of convenience. Thanks for listening.
Penina Chan says, can we get a "you're disgusting" for Alison Tieman of the Honey Badgers because she decided it was a brilliant idea to politicize Memorial Day as a men's issue? Tactless, disrespectful, go Minecraft yourself. Whoa. I was trying to figure out how to approach Memorial Day because I see the idea of making it a men's issue just because the overwhelming majority of active duty soldier deaths would be male. Demographics would play into that. But I don't think Memorial Day is about just the men who died. It's about those who are left behind as well. So that's yeah. I don't want to call Alison disgusting. She's been on the show, but that sounds like a misstep.
She seems a troubled character, but we're sympathetic with her.
Yeah.
I just think if one woman has ever been lost, it becomes a two-sex issue. And sure. I'm sure we've lost one woman. And so sex is, I just don't see it as a celebration of men at all. And I don't see making it a big deal about sex. I know I've met service men and women, and the women are, I don't think women should be in the military. but the women who I see in the military absolutely kick ass and are the most amazing women I've ever met. So I'm not.
Well, I just can't. I can't imagine like a little 5-year-old girl crying and saying this is a men only problem, right? Like crying that her dad's gone. That doesn't jive with me. So Memorial Day is about remembering those lost, but it's also about remembering those lost for the people who are still here.
And when we say servicemen, it is implied service women also. I've heard service women okay with being called servicemen.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying they get that it's a generic term. The military is far more open and interesting and nuanced about it than your normal woke leftist public who have to turn everything into an issue. And I'm not saying that about our Canadian friends about their concerns. I'm just saying I have a lot of respect for women in uniform. And when I think of Memorial Day, I think of the women who fall into, obviously, a man's going to come to mind. I don't see it as a big sexual issue.
Yeah, me either. All right.